The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I am in the throes of this book. Oh, man. By the way, next time I say I'm going to write a book, somebody reach through the podcast and smack me upside my head and say, boy, you don't need to write a book. That's a lot of work. Because, man, it really is a lot of work. Holy mackerel. And I've got some help on it, too, from some copywriter, an editor. But it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Because I want it to be good. And I want it to be my voice. And I want it to be like, seriously, I want it to be like you and I are sitting there talking. And that's what it feels like to read it. So that's going to be the goal. All right. Anyway, onward and upward like Macbeth. When did I take Macbeth? I think that was in the 6th or 7th grade. Anyway. All right. Seriously, focus. Okay. Let's talk about some things that are going on. First of all, we left last week talking about the Aaron Bushnell situation, the young man who set himself on fire and succumbed from those injuries and passed away last week as he was trying to protest the ongoing situation in Palestine. Man, that situation, I wanted to see what else would come out about it. And I haven't seen whether his parents have come out and spoken, but I don't think they have. The only main things I've seen is tying him to a Christian Jesus community church that they're not painting in the most positive light. Anyway, the entire situation, I think, just honestly so sad because I hate to say it, but I think he's already been forgotten. And if not by today, definitely, I have like a 1 week rule where I really see, when I see something that is like all over the news and everything that gets talked about, I kind of put it in an iPhone note and then I check on it. Literally, I'm not kidding. I check on it 7 days later, a week after it happens, to see what else is going on. And I will say 99% of the time, it's completely gone from the news cycle. So I feel like that news cycle is roughly 1 week. The best example of that was that Titanic or Titan submersible submarine that blew up. And man, that thing was like everywhere starting Sunday. Finally, on Thursday, they let the cat out of the bag, although they knew it blew up on Sunday. And then literally by that next Thursday, I tracked the amount of searches on Google, and it was like down 98%. So I think that 7-day rule probably is a good one. But anyway, the stuff in Israel and Palestine, we're not going to key on that too much today. But the one thing I did want to address, which I thought was interesting, was
the immense scale of suffering in Gaza. There must be an immediate ceasefire. For at least the next 6 weeks, which is what is currently on the table. This will get the hostages out and get a significant amount of aid in. This would allow us to build something more enduring, to ensure Israel is secure, and to respect the right of the Palestinian people to dignity, freedom, and self-determination. Hamas claims it wants a ceasefire. Well, there is a deal on the table. Let's get a ceasefire. Let's reunite the hostages with their families, and let's provide immediate relief to the people of Gaza.
Vice President Kamala Harris, comma, punctuation mark, La Harris. If you have no idea why I did that, you're going to have to go back and listen to all the previous episodes and figure it out. But anyway, she came out with a pretty bold statement demanding a ceasefire, but then the fine print of that was only for 6 weeks, and it was basically about releasing the hostages and then getting humanitarian aid in. But here's the funny thing. So if I'm Hamas, which I'm not, by the way, let's make sure I am not Hamas or affiliated with Hamas in any way, shape, or form. But let's hypothetically say we all are Hamas. Their only leverage is these hostages. That's their only leverage right now. And by the way, it doesn't even seem like that leverage is working much because, good Lord, the Israeli Defense Forces have demolished almost 70% of Gaza. But their only leverage is these hostages. So getting in humanitarian aid in a 6-week ceasefire, there's no way they're going to release all the hostages because then they have no leverage. And then literally on 6 weeks and 1 day, Israel will probably completely annihilate and just blow Gaza and probably the West Bank off the map. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to lose all their leverage. And so what was interesting to me is just the simplicity of the verbiage that gets people all rallied up on social media. You had pretty much everybody yeah, ceasefire. And then the funny thing was 90% of those people didn't even really look at the second part where she said, footnote, a 6-week ceasefire. And then from there, very few would then take the step of thinking, okay, well, what after that? What happens on six weeks and 1 day or the 7th week? So, I don't know. The whole thing, it just continues to be so weird to me. There's so many things that are so weird. And I started looking at, remember in the earlier episodes, I think it was episode number 37 or 38, part of the 9-part series on the Israel-Palestine stuff, I talked about the judicial reforms that really were completely engulfing Israel and really sticking it to the Netanyahu administration. And that was like a 60 Minutes clip. Charlie Kirk talked about the judicial reforms. I think there were a couple other people talked about the judicial reforms. But I mean, it was a big deal. People were basically really, really up in arms in Israel against the judicial reforms that Netanyahu was trying to implement, because basically it would pretty much put the Supreme Court in his pocket. So, you're taking away checks and balances in government and you're consolidating that power into the prime minister's hands and his organization. So people were not down for that. So when October 7th happened, all that went away. I mean, we've talked about it before, but all those protests, all that beef, he squelched that. He squashed it. It's all gone. And then I looked over the weekend to see, is there any signs of that? And there's not. There is a lot of protests, though, in Tel Aviv, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with Israel, the two main cities are Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Jerusalem is highly, highly religious and highly, highly conservative, right-wing. A lot of Netanyahu supporters are there. But then Tel Aviv is very, very liberal. It's supposed to be an incredible city, actually. And it is a lot of non-Netanyahu supporters. So a lot of people are against Netanyahu in Tel Aviv, and they're having these amazing rallies. Obviously they're rallying to pretty much do whatever it takes to bring the hostages home, but it is intertwined with a real message about ceasefire and almost about living in conjunction and peace with the Palestinian people. So it's really interesting to see those protests on social media. You kind of have to dig to find them because they're definitely not getting covered on the main accounts, who really are just focused on, creating this bad blood narrative that they're continuing to propagate between Hamas and then the Netanyahu administration. But anyway, those protests got squashed. I will say the other thing I find weird about the Hamas situation, and we've also talked again about how, Netanyahu, this stuff is all online, and there's tons of articles about it from Israeli publications like Haaretz, and then the Jerusalem Times, the Times of Israel, or the Jerusalem Post, the Times of Israel. They talk about how Netanyahu basically enabled Hamas in order to weaken the Palestinian Authority run by that guy Mahmoud Abbas, which is concentrated in the West Bank. But he pretty much helped Hamas financially and in other ways in order to really create that division between the PA and Hamas and never let them unite, which to me is so weird why they didn't, I don't know, the whole Hamas thing, and then the fact that they don't come out and really do interviews, they don't come out and like defend themselves against, what many people see as like tremendous propaganda being done by Israel. Like, I find that weird. Like, pick a spokesperson and get somebody to like stand up for you guys in the press. The funny thing is, if you watch the interviews with the gentleman that's like the guy from Yemen, he's like one of the Houthi guys, but he's like the Houthi spokesperson. That dude is hilarious. He'll jump on Instagram or TikTok, and then it just sounds like a barrage of yelling. Oh, that was terrible. That was God, that could go down as me being racist against the Yemenis trying to speak their language. That was not even trying to speak their language. That was just me trying to emulate that guy. But they've got a spokesperson, and that guy comes out and he talks about what's going on. And so, like, I just find the whole thing strange that, there's so much propaganda on the Israeli side, and there's so much narrative on the Israeli side. You would think that in this world of social media, somebody on the Hamas side would be like, okay, you know what? We can't just let them say this without giving a retort. I'm going to be the guy, and I'll be the spokesperson. It doesn't make sense. They don't have anybody. And then whenever you do see something related to them, again, they're always dressed up like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, I don't know. I just find it off. I find the whole thing off. It's almost like a manufactured enemy to me. I don't know. I might be totally off on that, but it's just weird to me. All right. The other big thing in the news was Nikki Haley won her first state in the Republican primary. She won 19 delegates from the District of Columbia, which I think encapsulates Washington, D.C. So anyway, I think it's like a meaningless victory, but she did get 62% of the vote, and Trump only got 33% of the vote, 33% of the vote. Ron DeSantis got 1.9% of the vote. How the hell did Ron DeSantis get 1.9%? 1.9% of the votes, and he's not even in it. That's like the dude got hired. He got instead of getting fired on his day off, like I like to say about Kevin McCarthy and many others, quoting a line from the movie Friday, it's like DeSantis got hired on his day off. That's just goofy, super goofy. Why is he even on the ballot still? That just doesn't make sense. I think the answer is because they already had printed him and people were that stupid that they just voted for him anyway, knowing that he's not even in the race. I don't know. It's only 38 votes. Oh my God. Politics in America are, now that I'm like immersing myself in it, I'm realizing how just crazy they are. All right, a few more things to get on your radar. Crypto is going crazy again. Holy guacamole. Bitcoin and Ethereum are hitting all-time highs. They're back. Well, not all-time highs, actually, 52-week highs, but they're definitely back in the game. Bitcoin's like hovering around, I think, $64,000. Ethereum is like around 3,400. I did hold both, and when they started to run, I thought it was a pump fake, and like a dumbass, I sold. I got all my money back, which I was happy about, but I have definitely missed out on about a 30% upside since then. So, oh well, bad call by Ray D. But I'm still holding on to some Dogecoin, the Doge. Remember that stupid thing that Elon Musk made famous, which I think that whole thing was so shady. But I've got that thing at like a penny, and I've got a decent amount of it. And that's up to like 15 cents now. So that's not bad. I'm actually going to hold on to that thing because I think this is another pump fake. So here's my thoughts on what's going on with crypto. For some reason, I think that the crypto market's going to like boom even higher than it is already. And then it's going to crash big time, or they are going to finally do that conversion to the central bank digital currency, the CBDC stuff, because I just do not see them ever letting Bitcoin or Ethereum. I mean, really, Bitcoin is definitely the big player, but I just don't see governments allowing that as a means of conducting transaction. Right now it's a stored value, meaning that, you store value in it. You buy it at one price, you sell it at another, kind of like gold, which I think gold is a big scam too, because when are they ever they're never gonna let you buy a house in gold or buy a car in gold. You're never going to be able to transact other, goods and services in gold. You pretty much can just buy and sell gold. And so I just don't know if that's ever going to come to fruition, even for Bitcoin, which is set up perfectly to do that. I'm actually going to do a whole episode on Bitcoin because it is pretty fascinating to truly understand what it is. But anyway, I think this rally is going to come, and I don't know. I just have a weird vibe that it's intended to do something. Maybe get everybody, I don't know. Actually, I don't even want to speculate. But what I do think is that the central bank digital currency stuff, which we talked about in a lot of episodes, but we haven't talked about it in a while. It's not like it went away. It's just been dormant, and whatever they're doing, I think that's going to come to fruition soon. Same thing with like BRICS. I think I did a whole episode. Yeah, episode 3 and 4 were on the CBDC and then also on BRICS. Those countries that are part of BRICS, we haven't heard much in the news, if anything, about them, but it's not like BRICS has gone away. If anything, when you don't hear about any of this stuff, it's probably getting stronger in the shadows, and then it's going to emerge again, and it's going to be like 10 times more powerful than it was before. So BRICS you don't hear anything about. CBDC you don't hear anything about. There's not a lot of talk in, the weakening of the petrodollar. Those were 3 big topics I keyed on a lot. But they've really gone out of the spotlight. But again, it's not like they've gone away. They're literally probably all the things that are supposed to happen are happening. It's just being done, under the radar. So we shall see. We shall see what happens there. Last thing for today, I finally got my cholesterol and lab results back. And that's a crazy story. This is ridiculous, actually. They uploaded it to a system that is no longer existent. And when I called and said, hey, where the heck are my lab results? They're like, oh, that's in that system. And then they finally called me back and said, oh, we switched systems. So now we've uploaded it to the new one. I was like, really? Like, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Anyway, my cholesterol was high. My top line cholesterol and my LDL, the bad cholesterol, both were high, which was a little bit surprising to me. It actually was a little bit surprising. Although I am a few pounds different than where I'd like to be, and I do think weight matters. Actually, I know weight matters. But anyway, later this week, I'm going to do an episode on health. We're going to do another DSD health, and we're going to dive into all those numbers and see if we can learn something from there. So, all right. Well, hey, let's get this week off. Let's get this week started off right. Hopefully you guys had a good day today, a little bit of catch up with a variety of things today, and I will catch you on the flip side. Call a spade a spade.
The ending was terrific.
This episode is being brought to you by the upcoming book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You. That's right, Bro wrote a book, and it's coming soon. Stay tuned.